Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Three Idiots Talk Aquariums podcast. We all hope you're doing very, very well on this, fine morning here as we're recording. The weather is packing in, so that's not ideal, but what are you going to do, eh? So for today, I thought we'll start off just as usual, just go around the room and see what people have been having happen in the fish rooms and in the shops. So I don't know who wants to go first, but what have you guys been getting up to in your fish rooms?
Fishy hating fence clickers away. I'll go first, though. Oh, you go first.
Yeah.
Okay,
you go
okay.
first. No, you're good. You go.
Okay. I was just reading what your little words say. So
Yeah, that's
I got this in the mail, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Nice.
For people who listen to a podcast
Oh yeah,
on a podcast device. He's holding up a photo of a frontosa.
Yeah. So for those
not a photo.
Yeah.
A picture. So for those that don't know, every Friday I do a live stream and I get guests on. And about 18 months or so ago, I got a guy on called Sam Scales, who's an artist from America. He draws all sorts of cool fish and lizards and all that kind of stuff. He's a nature artist. So I sent him a photo of a frontosa that I once had, and I said, "Hey, paint this for me," and he did, and that's what it is, and I absolutely love it. It is really, really, really cool. And if you're listening to the podcast, I suggest you find the YouTube video and watch that just so you can see that cool picture. So yeah, I'm really stoked.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
you're gonna put it on top of your frontosa tank.
It is a painting, yes, it's the original. I thought about putting it on top of the frontosa tank, but I'm a little bit concerned that the condensation and stuff like that might get into it and ruin it. So I'm going to put it very close to the frontosa tank. But for the time being, it's going to sit on the counter in the shop because I think everybody needs to enjoy it because it is freaking awesome.
It's a good call. All 4 people who live in Nelson and come in to see you can come and look at it.
All 4 people are going to love it.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah.
The odds of the entire population of Nelson coming in very slim, and then the odds of any of them liking frontosa also very slim. But at least you like it. That's the main thing.
Isn't this doing what you want to do? Getting some spotlight on stupid African cichlids? Like if people don't know what they are because they don't get enough people talking about them, look, there's a painting in a fish shop that people can go, wow, what's that? And then we can have the conversation about how cool frontosa are.
The problem is that you own every single big tank in Nelson that exists. And if any come up, you buy it. So no one else can keep frontosa in Nelson.
This is not true.
Tanks. There's no more tanks.
I had someone say to me yesterday they had an 850-litre tank when they were trying to buy one of my fish off me that wasn't for sale. So I'm not the only person with big tanks in Nelson. There is another one.
Did you see a photo of it? Because I've seen people's 850-litre tanks, and usually they're maximum 200 litres. They're what are they? Equal 850 or something, which is actually 120 litres or something.
Yeah. No, I did not see it, but I didn't sell the fish to him, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
cool.
Makes sense. What have you had going on, Ryan? Anything interesting or notable?
Nothing exciting for me. Just playing with leaks and fish tanks.
Oh, yep. Is that same one we talked about like a couple of weeks ago?
That one, and I'm going for all the other ones that are leaking in the fish room too, and finding out that they're not leaking. It's just overflows that are loose and water's dripping down here and then traveling down to here because it's the lowest point and dripping out under this tank and making this tank look like it's leaking, and pulling the whole thing apart to pull one tank out, pulling about 3 tanks out to get to it, and finding out it's not leaking. So it's just fun.
Sounds like a right pain.
It is so fun. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it.
But the tank builder, eh?
Oh yeah. If you want tanks built, don't come see me.
But no, it sounds good. I'm glad to hear it's all coming along.
I'm just getting sick of leaks and stink and mold and stuff. We're always going to have stink and mold for the fish room because it's what it is. But it's just, water pouring everywhere just sucks.
Yep, probably not the ideal situation.
Nah.
Yep. Oh no, makes sense. For me, I've not had anything too exciting going on to do with fish recently. I have set up my big Mbuna tank, I think, last week or the week before, and that's been going very well. It's, all the water's clearing and, like, the fish are getting more brave and understanding what's going on and, being more out and about and all that. So that's really cool. It's starting to settle out nicely, and I'm very happy with it. My nice big helicopter seems to be doing the job in the middle of it. So what more could you want, really? The only thing is now waiting for the fish to actually put some more size on, give them some time to grow, but shouldn't take too long.
They're in a
before
pretty big
it's
tank now.
nice and full.
The tank's quite big.
Yeah, it's like, in
Yeah,
terms of liters, I think it would be like 500-600 liters or something. So
yeah,
it's pretty hefty.
no, it's not a small tank, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Is
So
that
hopefully the fish are gonna pack it on. Yep. Yeah.
What tank is that?
This is a new one. This is next to where, like, if you first walk in the back, like the door from the car park, on the
Yep.
right, there's like the tank with the Oscars.
Yep.
And then next to it there is where I put it.
How did you squeeze another tank in there? Oh, obviously you moved some things around.
Got rid of the old one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And rearranged some stuff. But yeah. It's
So that
because
Oscar tank's not there anymore?
no, it's there.
It's
The
next to
Oscar
the
tank's there. It's next to the Oscar tank.
So you got rid of the Shelleys and that. Is that right? The little Shelley tank?
Well, yeah, I just shuffled them all along basically, and
Cool. So push further towards
it kind of, yeah, because I got rid of the old Mbuna tank, and then that gave enough room when I shuffled everything along.
Is that the one that had the helicopter on it?
Yep.
Right.
That's the one that went to Kim's tank, Kim's class.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I'm totally with you now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got going on. It's starting to look good now. The fish are enjoying it and all that. So that's the main thing. So yeah, that's probably the only notable thing that's happened to me recently. The rest is all pretty boring, to be honest. So yeah. Oh well. So I think, why don't we? Oh, just quickly before we get started, just wanted to say, been obviously looking at the, I don't know what you call it, analytics of the podcast, and we really appreciate the support. But if you haven't already, make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube and all that kind of thing. I just noticed the relation to the views to the followers is not great. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow so you can keep up to date. But yeah.
So what were you saying there? That the number of views isn't correlating to the number of subscribers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like heaps of people listens without following, which is fine, but
maybe they just don't
it would
like
be
us.
cool if they do. I think I blame you.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's your fault.
okay, fair
Gotta
enough.
do better at promoting
I
it.
accept that. I'm good at being blamed.
Yep.
I'm in a
Yeah.
relationship. It's just what I live with every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what I was going to say is also that we sometimes struggle for subjects. So if people actually have any ideas, and that's not just Cam making up his people and making up stuff he wants to talk about, like real actual people have some ideas and stuff they want us to talk about, then give us some ideas, because otherwise the two Cams just make up really dumb stuff and I have to talk about it and I don't like it. So give us some cool stuff.
At least we're creative enough to come up with ideas that isn't African
You're welcome.
You're
welcome to contribute, Ryan.
Yeah.
Every week, Ryan's just like,
every week.
Ryan's just like, I don't mind, you guys choose. And then I come up with ideas.
I don't know anything about it.
And then I come up with ideas, and then everyone's like, "This is a stupid idea," and I'm like, "Well, you guys come up with ideas," and then no one comes up with any ideas. So
I came up with like a dozen last night. Thank you very much. You were just in bed already.
yeah, well, it's not my problem. So
Anyway,
speaking of ideas,
what is today's beautiful or wonderful topic that we're going to talk about?
So today's idea that I came up with, and you guys both didn't like, but didn't come up with any good alternatives, is we're going to be talking about unpopular fish keeping opinions. And the only rule I'm gonna put in, like criteria I'm gonna put in place, is ideally not stuff that's low hanging fruit that we talk about all the time, but some more uncommon or like stuff we haven't talked about, unpopular opinions. So no stability sucks, no fancy plecos, etc. So
I'm looking at you,
some
mate. Right at you.
see, this is a podcast, so I have no idea who you're pointing at.
Both of you.
No, fair enough. So I don't know if any of you guys want to go first, or you want me to go first to give you a little
I've got one.
second.
I've
All
got
right,
one.
go
I've
go
actually,
to town.
Just killed all mine.
Hit me.
Okay. Chain stores are not the devil that we all think that they are.
What's
I
that?
believe chain
Expand.
stores are not the devil that we all believe they are. I think chain stores do a lot more for the hobby than we give them credit for.
I agree. I
Oh,
definitely agree. I think because what happened is like my first fish keeping memory is like not even about fish I had, but like my mum and dad used to take me, like, I don't remember why we were in the area, but we always used to drive past this animates, and then if I was, not punching my brother in the face and like behaving and stuff, then they'd take us to the animates and we'd just like walk around and like look at the fish and stuff. And like I have very clear memories of like that was when they used to have like turtles, and there was what are they called? Like those glass catfish and stuff like that. And I like just remember looking at them like, oh my god, what the heck's going on? Like a glass catfish to a child is like the most random thing in the entire world, because obviously, so like, if you don't know, it's basically this fish where like it's basically like bones that swims. Like you can see through it, and like you can see all the bones and stuff, and it's like kind of gross, but like I love it. So that's like my first fish keeping memory, and I'm sure that's part of why I'm sitting here at 6 a.m. talking about fish for our 8 listeners. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think it gives the hobby a lot of exposure in that, because like animates in that is, so I don't know if this is like public knowledge, but like animates in that don't make any money off fish, but it is what they call a loss leader. So like they lose money, but it brings people in, because like what I was saying before, like people bring their kids in to look and then buy their cat food or buy their toys for their dog or something while they're there, while they're looking at the fish. So yeah, I agree. Your opinion is not as unpopular as it may first seem.
I thought it would have been.
I think I agree with you. They make fish more accessible and people actually get to go in and see them. I do worry about the fish that they're selling and whether they result in long-term fish keepers. But in terms of making fish more accessible, they usually are in high traffic areas, and they usually have bigger budgets than small fish shops. So a lot more people do see fish. So yeah, I agree with the premise of what you're saying. I don't think it's I think
Maybe
people go to see fish.
Maybe we should change our topic to popular opinions that no one talks about them.
Well, I can go next and maybe put a stop to that, unless Ryan has anything he wants to go ahead with. I'll just go.
You go. I don't even know if mine's. I don't even know if mine's actually right, because I don't really understand the topic, because I'm doing a cam this morning. So that's right.
I just want to add that I think that chain stores are probably responsible for getting more people in than we would probably imagine, like you just said. But it's actual fish shops' job from then onwards to guide a little bit more and sort of shape long-term fish keepers, as opposed to one in and out real quickly and selling the AR-126 because of terrible advice and all that sort of stuff. So
No, I'm gonna agree with that. That makes sense. I see where you're coming from. But yeah, so my first one is gonna be, I don't think either of you are gonna agree, but they have a terrible reputation, but tiger barbs are actually very cool fish, and I really like them. Even though everybody you talk to seems to hate them, I think they're quite cool. So yeah,
I don't hate them.
you do
I
hate
think-
them. We've had this
No,
conversation before.
I don't hate them. I just think they're one of those fish that don't get treated correctly, because someone will go to a shop and you'll buy 2 and put them with all their guppies and then rip their guppies to pieces. But it's just their kind of nature, and if they're put into a big tank in big numbers, they do what they need to do. But on that principle alone, I don't sell them.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely, obviously, like same as any fish, like in the incorrect environment, that you're going to struggle to have like enjoyment and have a good result. But like with the caveat that like you obviously have to keep them in a big group with suitable tank mates and stuff. They're actually very cool fish, and they're really fun, and I really like them, especially like when they get big, because they get a lot bigger than like a lot of people recognize or like realize.
Yeah.
So like
They get
I don't know how.
chunky.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like that would be the body of a tiger barb there, if
It's
you're
like
watching
golf
on
ball game.
YouTube. Yeah, pretty much. But that's really fun. It's like little piranhas, like even just like feeding them flakes or something and having them swarm around is like really fun and really enjoyable. So I know everyone seems to hate them, but that is unjust and an unpopular opinion, if you will.
He's going to bring back the barb. Bring back the barb.
Yeah, pretty much,
See?
man. I'm
He's on a
trying.
campaign.
I have a few clients that just have a big, like a good sized tank with just like a bunch of tiger barbs, and it's like they love it. It looks cool. It's fun. It's interactive. It's like
You can get
boom.
different varieties too now, can't you? You get the standard
Yeah,
one.
you can
and
get like
all sorts
green
of
and
different,
gold and all sorts of different junk like that. But
Mm,
I'm aesthetically, I'm more of a fan of just like the normal, standard ones. But hey,
I like the
do
green
you.
ones. I think the green are quite nice.
Do they? So do they? They've got a reputation for being fin nippers, right?
Yeah.
So if they're kept in a group of like 20 or something of their own mates, do they nip other fish still together, or do they just chase each other around?
They do nip each other. Like they'll do what a lot of those more, boisterous tetras and stuff will do, where if there's any weak things or that, just tend to get shredded.
Kind of like Tropheus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
similar idea to Tropheus.
But cool.
But once that is an unpopular opinion. But what they do is they'll like shred the weaker ones, but generally once everyone's like full size and everyone's settled, they won't. But it's just sometimes when they're like first introduced to a tank, little like runty kind of ones get demolished. But if you're keeping them with like 20 others or something, they'll generally be more concerned with dealing with each other than nipping anything else. So yeah,
cool. So like you couldn't keep a group with like angelfish, for example.
it wouldn't be recommended, but if you had like 40 of them, it might be okay.
Tear the fins off the angelfish, basically. Because
They
do they
just
try and play? Do they try and play with them? Is that what they're trying to chase them around or something, or trying to make them one of their school or something? I don't know what they're.
I don't know the psychology of what goes on. You'd have to ask the fish, but yeah, pretty much. But they just shred them, like pick the fins apart and that.
I'd liken them to like dwarf chain loaches, where they're just inquisitive and wanting to know what's going on. And if the fish that are with them aren't sort of hardy enough to withstand that, that's when the trouble happens. But if you keep them in a big group, they don't need to be inquisitive on other bits and pieces because they're inquisitive to what they've got going with their own group. And they get that bad reputation because people will buy two of these to fill their tank up and think they're filling up a shoal of fish. But in actual fact, they've just got 2 of 6 different random fish to fill their tank up, and then these tiger barbs are just being tiger barbs, and it's not that they're being aggressive or angry or wanting to rip stuff to pieces. It's just them trying to work out what's going on and who's who in the zoo.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the classic. Probably starting off with a tank that's too small. And one of them. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. And then putting it all together and going, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, fish are dumb.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I think like if you do want to keep them, like just keeping them with a bunch of like a real popular one I think is silver tip tetras because they're like similar vibe. They're quite aggressive in that. So like just keep them with a bunch of silver tips or like any other barb or like tetra or that, and they'll just ignore them and do their own thing, and you'll get a real active, fun tank. So what more
Yeah,
could you want?
I put them into the semi-aggressive community bracket.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Or
Yeah.
more like boisterous or
Other-
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other more robust, active
Yeah.
fish probably okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even stuff like
Photo
rainbows
tetras,
and that.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, rainbows would be cool. Yeah.
All right. We'll set you up a big tiger barb tank then, eh, Ryan?
It's definitely too frowned upon these days, but in the days we used to use rainbows and tiger barbs and rosy barbs and stuff as dither fish for Africans.
Cancelled. Get
For
out.
shame.
All the time.
For
All the
shame.
time. All the time we would chuck giant Danios, rainbows, whatever, stuff like that if we had fish that weren't coming out, and then boom, all the fish would come out, and if the other fish were fast enough to stay away from the Africans and no one ever got hurt. So yeah.
Well, makes
Not
sense.
okay.
Well, yeah.
What is your suggestion, Ryan?
I'm calling up blank because I don't really. I was going to say something like, fish keeping's hard, but then it's not hard. So I'm trying to get the opposite of that.
Fish keeping's easy.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand how I'd make it an unpopular opinion. It is an unpopular opinion that fish keeping is easy, I guess, because people think it's hard. So yeah,
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So that's going to be your suggestion.
My thing is, my unpopular opinion is fish keeping is easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Get a lot of people through the shop, like non-fish people, like just random people walking past, who always have this idea that it's going to be super complicated and like it's impossible to keep the fish alive and everything. But as we know, it's not that difficult. There's a lot of ways around sort of the general troubles that people run into with things like, I don't know, like what's a good example? Like having heaps of algae growing in their tank. It's like once you know kind of what to do and like the best ways of approaching it, it's pretty straightforward, and most of it's pretty easy to resolve in the right situation. So yeah.
Well, what I've found is a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about it.
Exactly.
They think that it's going to smell. They think that they have to have two tanks so they can put the fish in another tank and then clean the other tank once a week. They think that they're going to have to add all these chemicals every week to keep the fish alive. You
have to add stability. Oh, he went there.
You said that was off the table because we don't want to have another one of those fights about fucking stupid.
The jokes aren't off the table, but the topic is off the table.
I think we move on from cycle products. But anyway, a lot of people think you've got to add all sorts of magical elixirs to the tank to make them work. And we're going to do is stick some water in. Okay. H2O for the win. I know Cam hates it, but it's keep the water, hey Cam. You don't keep fishing.
Which Cam are you talking to? There's two of us.
Cam Auckland hates the saying that we keep water, and I still think it's relevant.
Oh yeah. I mean, I understand where it comes from, but like, oh sick! I got a tank of water sitting in my lounge. That's dope. Like, come on.
I think it does help people.
It's incidental.
Change their mindset towards it, and think that the most important thing is the water. But anyway,
I mean, it is. I definitely agree with that. I just think it's a stupid saying.
Yeah, I like it. But anyway.
So why don't you take all the fish out and you can just keep a tank of water?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Maybe I can put some plants in there too, and then just plant a tank. Just have plants.
Boom!
Extra with my filter.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
I think I agree.
I do.
Fish keeping can be really simple if you want to make it simple. And I always sort of tell people that I think there's less effort and less work in keeping an aquarium than what there is keeping a dog. Like there's more active hands-on maintenance to having dogs than what there is having an aquarium. Might be different when you get the whole fish room and 100,000 aquariums, but general person, 1 or 2 dogs to 2 or 3 aquariums.
If you're not crazy.
The cool thing about aquariums versus dogs too is if you stand in fish shit.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Oh, you've ruined my day. So basically, I'll tell the story for the listeners. So yesterday, so on what day is it? Tuesdays. So we record this on a Wednesday. On Tuesdays, I only work a half day.
Lazy.
But work every other day, so shut up. But basically, I was washing my partner's car in the driveway, and where it was parked, I had to kind of stand in this like little bush thing to wash one of the sides because I couldn't be asked moving the car. And evidently, somehow, a dog had shit in this bush. I mean, a dog had gone to the toilet in this bush, and I didn't notice. And then, like, I basically finished washing the car, put a new shirt on, and then left to go to work. And then all day at work, I was like, man, something smells really bad. Like, I was worried there was like a personal hygiene issue going on. Like, I was worried like someone had brought their dog in and it had gone to the toilet where I couldn't see it or something. And like probably like 4 hours later or like 5 hours later, I can't remember what I was doing, but I had to crouch down. I think I was cleaning the glass on one of the lower tanks in the shop. And I crouched down and I got a real bad whiff of the smell. I'm like, what the hell's that? And I was like looking around, I was like looking behind the tank and everything. And then I finally realized that there was just a dog turd on my foot and that I'd been walking around all day with this dog turd on my foot and I'd like smashed it into the carpet and stuff. So genuinely, my entire day was ruined. It was horrible. And I was so annoyed. And then these 2 idiots just coming up with jokes for like an hour about it. And oh my God, I've been traumatized.
So yeah, anyway, if you want to keep fish, at least if you stand in the fish shit, it doesn't smell all day. It doesn't give us as much comedy, but and I think another big reason that people find fish hard is Facebook. You see people just going down this rabbit hole with Facebook, and you got to test this, you got to test that, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to worm your fish, you got to rah, and then people just get so overwhelmed with all of the random advice, and it's without being rude or offensive, it's often from people that don't have a lot of experience, that have had one tank for a very short period of time, and they're trying to help, but they don't actually know what they're doing that well. So it just ends up people going down these big rabbit holes and following guides on the internet and stuff. And yeah, so I always recommend to people find a store or find a local breeder that's got lots of fish and being successful with it, and ask them first, and try and have one sort of person that you go to and get some general, so you can go in one direction without going, I'll go over here and do this and do that and do that and that and that, and start messing with the tank too much and chasing the pH and then putting some of this in there and going getting this chemical and doing that and and causing more problems. So
the thing I always tell people is when they're asking like how much maintenance is needed, I always tell people it can be as much or as little as you want it to be. Like, as I'm sure people who listen to podcasts about fish, I'm sure plenty of people love having, maybe like an hour's maintenance every single day of like fiddling with the plants or like making up DIY fish foods or like, all sorts of like random stuff like that because, it's their thing. But then there's also plenty of people who's like, I want to think about this tank for 10 minutes a week, do a quick water change, and then aside from that, I don't even want to think about it. And so like that can be possible. And then of course there's all that middle ground of like you can do whatever in the middle, but there's a lot more latitude and there's no like set formula of like, right, you have to spend 3 hours every 2 days doing it, otherwise everything's going to go to hell. Obviously if you have a tank that needs less maintenance, it's probably not going to have as much fish or as much plants or, stuff is going to be different. but it is still doable to have a very, very low maintenance tank you don't really have to think about.
And the key is trying to determine what that minimum is. I guess that's the hard part. What is the minimum? To me, I'd say just you've got to do at least a 25-30% water change once a week and feed them every couple of days as a minimum to keep them alive. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's usually what I recommend to people.
It
does depend on what fish you're keeping, but I'm saying a standard sort of average community tank, nothing crazy going on in it. Just give it some fresh water, give them some food, Obviously, it helps to check if the filter's running and the temperature's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing I find, so this is a little, I don't know what you'd call this. This is a little bit of a trade secret I'm going to give you guys and all our lovely listeners, plus all Cam's burner accounts. But what I find a lot of people like is like, particularly because like I have a lot of people who like have their tanks like near their kitchen bench or whatever. And I have some people who like will just every day when they go to feed their fish, like it might be like a 30-liter tank, every day when they feed their fish, they'll just take one, those like, what do you call them? Like measuring cup, just scoop out a cup of the measuring cup, tip it down the sink, and then fill up the rest with water. So they do like, I don't know, maybe a 5% water change every single day, just when they feed their fish. Just that's the habit they got into. And obviously over the course, I don't know what 5 times 7 is, but like that's a pretty beefy water change. Keeps everything nice and clean, keeps the fish happy. But for them, that's like the easiest, most low maintenance, don't even have to think about it method to doing their water changes. So
and they probably do it while the jug's boiling in the morning and they make the coffee or something.
Exactly.
It takes them and 30 seconds to a minute a day to maintain their fish tank.
Exactly. Like you ask them about it and like they don't even, half of them don't even remember what they're doing. It's like, oh yeah, I think I did that. I don't even like it's just like automatic. It's like it's like brushing your teeth. You just do it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's handled. So I don't even have to think about it. I can just look at the cool fish, or like look at the plants, or like the kids can enjoy it or whatever. So it's like there's plenty of low hassle ways of dealing with all these things, and there's no set, as you said, there's no set formula. Like you do one big water change a week, you can do these tiny micro water changes every single day, whatever works for you and for your tank and where it is. So yeah, that's a cool little hack for you.
And if you really, really don't want to do water changes, you can automate them too. Like there's lots of things
with great difficulty, but yes.
Well, yeah, it's not.
It depends on the
but
tank.
It's not easy. It depends on the tank location, etc., etc. But yeah, you can do it if you want to.
Or I know of a service you can get that will handle all this for you. Wink, wink. Shameless plug, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard of a couple of puppies up in Auckland that do that.
Yeah. I'll come do all your entire Fishroom.
Yeah, $3. Yeah, done.
Yeah, $3 a tank.
Oh no,
$900. Problem solved.
Yeah,
but yeah. So that's my thoughts.
That's your unpopular opinion. Yeah, I agree.
I think that was your unpopular opinion. I don't even remember. We talked about that one for a long time.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think we're back to Beardy, if you will. So what's your opinion, Gandalf?
Harry Potter.
Since we've started, I've got a list about as long as my arm, so I'm just going to cherry pick a couple from now on.
Isn't it? Don't worry.
Buying from breeders does not always mean you get the best fish. I think there is a belief within hobbyist circles that buying your fish from breeders gives you the best quality fish, and I don't necessarily think that is the case. Not all breeders are the same. There are some very much that are just puppy mills, and there's some that don't so much care about the quality they're pushing out. They're just putting fish after fish after fish and calling them what they want, and not taking away deformities, and not taking away other issues and other things for line breeding fish and that kind of stuff. So I don't believe that buying from breeders is always necessarily where you're going to get your best fish from.
I thought this episode was going to be a lot of like, contention in that, but I don't think anyone's disagreed with anything anyone else has said. So
Maybe
This
that's
is
because
kind of
I'm
awkward.
trying to think of one that will cause problems. So I'll think
maybe
about
that's because we've all got a similar viewpoint, and it might be slightly slanted
And you-
because we're involved
and
in
you-
the industry.
And you banned all the things that were
Yeah,
contentious. So
I didn't want to just do the same podcast that we do every week. I was thinking maybe we'll add some different value. But no, I definitely agree with Cam. I think obviously in dealing with African cichlids, it's maybe a little bit more. I don't know
Prevalent?
what word you describe
Obvious?
it, but it's a little bit more even like common, or like there's more that can go wrong. Like for the most part, a platy is a platy. Like you get into the color varieties and that, but that's more like not as obvious. But I mean, for example, as Ryan knows, but I'm sure plenty of you guys listening know, there is a guy in Auckland who sells a lot of what is it? It's either Red Empress or Taiwan Reef, which is a type of hat, but they're just like random peacocks that are just assorted. No, it is definitely Red Empress. Now that I think of it,
I think they're just a random red hybrid peacock.
Yeah, it's like a reddish. I mean, even like not to get too
It's not
aggressive
even a nice red,
about
is
it. But it's like orange, so like it's not even red. But like that doesn't matter. But there's plenty of stuff like that with like random hybrids in it, like where the quality is maybe a little bit more difficult. Like for the most part, a platy is a platy. Like you're not really going to have that many hybrids. Whereas with Africans, it's like
I disagree with you that platy's a platy. Platy's a platy
in terms of like
any other sense that you want, but like I'm wanting to produce Mickey Mouse platies, for example, and they're throwing out some sort of crazy coral to it, and I'm just going to leave that in the gene pool, and then it just becomes this muddy mess of a gross, ugly-looking fish.
Oh no, I agree. I was meaning
even then there's not always getting from breeders are the best option. Breeders.
Oh yeah, for sure, I agree.
Are often two different things. Like Obneri's got a tank and they've got platies, and then they've just got too many fish and they're selling them on. That's a little bit different to I'm trying to produce XXX and then just. I bought it as a Mickey Mouse platy, but it's throwing coral, so it doesn't really matter, and I'll leave them all together, and then away you go.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I was meaning more in the sense of like, in terms of what it is a platy, like scientifically. But I agree in terms of the colors and patterns and stuff. Everything gets confused. And I think it's definitely one of those ones where like all breeders aren't the same. Like there's plenty of people who do a very good job of like, quality control and like the gene pool, managing the gene pool and everything, but it's not everyone.
I think it comes down to knowledge and it comes down to intent as well. And I think that for starters, at least if you're buying off a breeder, you're probably going to get healthier fish because they've probably been bred in New Zealand and been around a bit longer. So maybe but the quality control.
It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're buying it from a New Zealand breeder that they are better quality fish.
I was saying healthier. Like they're probably less likely to drop dead than ones that have been travelled halfway across the world and been subjected to all that stress. So, but anyway, I've been there a million times too.
Right.
People have come out here and said to me, "Oh mate, I'll give you this person's number. I've got all these fish. They've got all these amazing fish, and I've done it probably so many times I've lost count. And I go and touch this person and go out there, and they're just tanks and tanks of like just random. And for me, it's African cichlids, but it could be anything. And they're just tanks and tanks of random African cichlids. They've just randomly made up names and stuff, and they're not very good quality fish. They are probably, they're probably better than imported ones a lot of the time though for African cichlids. Because at least they've got some colour. But yeah, I definitely think that buying from breeders may not necessarily be the answer. I don't want to get into it too much because I get upset about it because there's so many people out there doing dodgy shit. But anyway, I agree with the unpopular opinion. Yes, I agree with the unpopular opinion.
At least we got a little bit of contention there. That's what this whole podcast was about. So I'm glad to hear my topic wasn't so much of a problem. But Yes. In short, I agree. Ryan agrees. Everyone agrees. Let's finish recording. But no. So I guess I think it's my turn now. This one, I think I know for sure that you guys are both gonna agree with, so that's gonna suck. But it's one that happens a lot of time when just talking to people, and that is my unpopular opinion: is that keeping white sand clean is very, very easy, and it's not hard as everyone makes it out to be. So yeah, it's normally a matter of like it takes a little bit to settle. Like when you first do it, you'll probably get all sorts of random algae and crud and stuff growing. But after like a couple months, once everything settles and like all the bacteria populations are filled out and everything like that, it'll all stay very clean. You can add a little bit of flow as well to keep the fish poo moving so that it gets sucked up by the filter. But yeah, it's not as difficult to keep it clean as it's often made out to be. So yeah.
Yep, I agree. I never had any
Cool.
issues with keeping sand clean either. People come, oh, how do you keep the white sand so clean? I was like, I don't know, just it's just clean like any other substrate, whatever. I've only ever really used silica sand though for shellies, but I've never really had any issues with it either. Again, you've got to
Even
rinse
like
it before you put
aragonite
it in
and
there.
stuff.
You got to rinse it before you put it in there is the key thing, and that sucks, especially in winter. Just going through and rinsing all this crap out of the sand and getting cold and all that sort of stuff, but get all the crap out of it, chuck it in, and then with silica you seem to get a bit of cyano sometimes, and it goes a bit manky, but eventually, like you say, that does settle, and then it's just like any other substrate.
Then once it's settled, it doesn't really go back. Like once you clean it out and get it all settled in there, it's seldom going to go back the other way and get real dirty again or grow some random thing out of it.
The only observation is, like, obviously, if your tanks, like my tanks, are filled with a bit of poo and stuff because they're breeding tanks, it will be more obvious. You'll see it on top of the white sand more than a dark sand. But again, that's where flow and sucking it out helps.
Yeah, and I mean even that, once the tank's established in that, it's not a major problem because like the system is better able to like break it all down faster and like having a bit of flow keep it moving in there, and it's not it isn't as much of a problem for the most part, I don't think. So yeah, what do you reckon, Cam? You've been ominously quiet.
I haven't used white sand for a real long time, so I might just vote of no confidence this one.
Well, that's boring.
That's
why we have a podcast, so we can just not talk about things.
It's been an eternity since I used white sand.
It's because you're old.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Oh, well, yeah. That was my topic.
I don't feel like I want to contribute to
it. I'm gonna put one in there that there's going to be some controversy just because I like stirring the pot. Unpopular opinion: African cichlids are the best beginner fish.
You don't even believe that.
Hey, like I said, well, I believe that with caveats. That's the thing. Like you can say.
Well, what's the caveats then?
Okay, African cichlids are the perfect beginner fish, providing you come to me or Cam and buy them and get proper advice and get the right size tank and the right stocking.
I'm going to say I do disagree with that. For
what?
The main reason for that is most people, when they get their first tank in that, don't really know what they want. The way most people hobbyists get started is kind of like sampling everything. So you get like your community tank and you get some platies and some tetras and some cories and some gouramis and like all sorts of random stuff and like mix it together, and then that's kind of fun to get you started because like every other weekend you have to go get some more fish or like some different fish or something, and that's fun. But whereas if you had an African cichlid tank, number one, you're going to be limited in terms of size because like for the most part we're going to be talking about like yellows and stuff, electric yellows and that kind of thing in this situation, and you can't put tetras or gouramis or corridoras or whatever in this tank. Otherwise, they'll get smashed. So it is a bit the limiting factor is a little bit challenging.
Do I not get to sell this? I say, why would you not want fish that are colourful and active and hardy? Like it's amazing. Why would you not want that? Big tank full of colour in your lounge.
I do agree. I think that is cool,
man.
but it's if it's a good beginner fish, surely that would mean that anyone anywhere can just like, because we have people listening in like the United States and stuff who obviously can't get fish from us, but like just grab some whatever random shop is closest to you and boom. But that's not necessarily the case.
It's almost like this one was always going to stir up a little bit of controversy. We've still got to hear from the inbred one about his opinion on this.
I can't see this going good for any way. Generally, beginner fish keepers have got a 2-foot tank or a
hey, I put caveats on it.
Eco style 63 or 67 or whatever they are, and then it's a massive tank, and they're wanting to put 3 African cichlids in there because that's all they think that it can fit, and it's a good. It's just no. It's just a no.
Yeah.
That's a no. Right? That's an absolute vote for no confidence.
I've settled quite a few beginners with African cichlid tanks, but it is very hard because often they will, and Cam's the same. You'll start them off on the right track, and they'll be doing really well. They've usually got a smaller tank, but you've steered them to the right fish, and they go somewhere else, and they buy a bloody big hap or something and stick it in there. You know, they buy like a Livingstone or something. Or they buy something crazy like that and stick it in this small tank where you've tried to set them up with some nice small Mbuna and stuff that are going to live together and look cool together, and they go and buy something real random. Or they go, cichlid's a cichlid and stick a big American in there. You know what I mean?
I've got a cichlid tank.
I mean, there's someone that's sitting on the Facebook forums at the moment, the Facebook groups at the moment, with the same thing with a giraffe in a small tank, and he's trying to put some females with it and all sorts of other fish. And it's just, you know, like they need big tanks. That's what they do, you know. But he's settled and he's happy after he's had it for a day, and he rescued it. And it's like, oh yeah, here we go. I can see where this is going. Again, all got to start somewhere.
Tell us how you really feel.
We do have to start somewhere. I did it. I've rescued pulled fish out of small tanks that have survived somehow and stuff, you know. So it's got to learn, and sort of got to learn the hard way.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And there's, so maybe my unpopular opinion was unpopular.
Hey, Baldy.
Trying to help people, mate. Trying to make people have success, not have failures.
Well, that's why we have a podcast. Hopefully, get some good information out there. Am I right?
Yeah.
Hashtag,
so maybe
make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Get some more good information. The shameless plug.
I like that. That's good. No, well, that did not go the way that I thought it was going to go. That's a shame.
All right.
Also, I made it really vague too, because there are actually some African cichlids that will be really good for beginners, like shellies and stuff. But anyway, carry on.
All right. So I believe that using cycled media and a fish in cycle is not the best.
We said that there was none of that sort of talk.
What is the bit? Chuck some stability or
no, I
trip
don't.
and cycle in and call it a day.
No,
I think we caveated that subject because we don't want to end up having a shit fight.
Well, I don't do it. I'm bringing it up.
All right. Ryan doesn't want to talk about it, and he's the boss.
I'll come back.
I think it produces false expectations that fish keeping is fast and easy, and in the actual fact, you need things to mature and take time. And I think it causes more issues than what it does causes good. And I think a better approach is fish out cycle using like a frozen prawn or fish food, and actually taking time and letting the tank mature and slowly but surely cycle through, because I think that helps with, again, maturing the aquarium. And then we all know that there's no hard and fast approach when it comes to keeping fish, and I think it's just setting people up on the wrong track doing it that way. I'd also be really curious to know how many people that have done the cycled media fish in approach have then issues 3-4 months down the track, and it's been because of going too heavy too fast once the tank is cycled with the media, or how many fish they lose, or massive algae issues and stuff like that, because it's not actually allowing the tank to do its natural thing.
I don't think I could disagree more with this. Opinion. I think you're wrong.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think you're the wrongest person that could ever be wrong on this world.
So okay. I think so. What you say about doing a fish out cycle? What is it? Fishless cycle and stuff. I'm a very big believer that everyone should cycle their second tank. Well, everyone who gets to that stage should cycle their second tank completely fishless, straight from scratch, with like regular water testing and stuff, because I think it gives you a much better, like, it gives you a very good understanding of what's going on, and like you can see the processes happening and all that kind of thing. Like, it gives you a good understanding.
Why do you not
and
want to know what's going on and understand the process on your first
Well,
aquarium to set you up for life properly?
If you let me finish my fucking statement, I'll tell you.
I don't want to.
Oh. So when it comes to the first...
You see, we weren't going to go into this.
Shut up.
All of a sudden,
Too late. Too late. Too late.
This is totally
too late. Oh, man. If I could kick you out of this, whatever this app is called that we're using, I would kick you out. But, so, the thing is, for your first tank, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go out and say that. It doesn't matter. Just let me finish talking, Dick. So, stop laughing. So, for your first tank, it doesn't matter, because there's so much else going on that you have to learn. You have to learn how to do water changes. You have to understand what's going on in terms of, like, why there's algae growing, how to keep it. Can you fucking let me finish? I'm so fired up now. But there's so much going on that, like, no one wants to be like, oh, I'll get a fish tank and then get it and then wait 6 weeks. That's a surefire way of killing everybody's joy in the hobby and making everyone think this is stupid, this is for morons. So what you should do is you should do that for your second tank, so you can get all those benefits of the science, like understanding the processes, and see, like, test it regularly so you can kind of see what's happening in that. But for your first tank, chuck fish in cycled media and then learn all that stuff that is essential for keeping the tank going, so you can just do that and then build as you go.
Do you know what's more by a way of getting people really disinterested in the hobby? Is buying a whole bunch of fish and having them die when it's not a mature tank.
But that's stupid.
I've spent all this money, and oh no, I can't have my fish anymore.
That doesn't make sense, because that's going to happen. That could happen either way. It's about doing it. Like, if you do it right, like if you do the wrong thing and overload the tank, regardless, everything's gonna die. So, like, this is all assuming, obviously, that you follow the smart and easy processes of, like, not adding too many fish, not overfeeding, keeping up with the water changes and stuff, and then building it from there.
You're assuming that people that are just getting into the hobby can understand this. It's a massive
assumption. That's why you teach them.
About fish keeping being simple, and then you're not making it simple, and people are going to get out because they're losing fish. Because I'd argue
you're chucking a prawn and then waiting 2 months for something to happen. No one's going to care.
I think that
you're so wrong, man.
Now, Cam, you've had your say. Now you need to let us too have.
I'm going to have to mute myself, and I'll just be raging at the screen.
He's just muted himself. I disagree entirely too. I don't think that people should be sitting there and playing a mad chemistry science experiment with prawns and chucking fish food in a fish tank for 6 weeks before they add. Just let me speak. Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. And sticking all these magic elixirs in there that are supposed to do stuff that do nothing. You know, like, it's just
about magic
absolutely.
It's nothing about magic elixirs.
Shut up. Let him talk.
It is not a mad scientist thing. It is a very simple process. You have an ammonia source.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Sure, why not? You're wrong. You're wrong.
So the people want to keep fish, right? It's not about being impatient. It's not about
No, they want to
cutting
keep
any-
water.
It's it's not about cutting corners. It's about trying to make things as simple and as successful as it can be,
But it is
right?
cutting
And so
corners.
you're adding. It's not. You're adding. You want a cycle. You're adding bacteria. So you're starting that cycle.
Then why don't you add
That's it.
stability
It's
if you want to
simple.
add bacteria?
I'm going to choose to ignore that because we're not talking about that right now. But anyway, like it's just to me, and I've set up hundreds of tanks that way, hundreds and hundreds, if not more than that, in every single fish room I've ever owned, and
But this
never
is
had to
not
do
making
any of
the
this
right
dumb stuff.
approach for someone first getting into the hobby. It sets the wrong precedent. In
I
my
100% disagree.
opinion. Well, you're
Anyway.
wrong, and it's okay.
I
Oh,
think
you're so
two-
wrong, Cam.
I think
You're so
we
wrong.
have to go with a vote here, and 2 out of 3 have voted for it. So officially,
How
the
about we
Three
get a
Aquariums
bigger
podcast
sample
has-
size? So all the listeners down in the comments, go to the YouTube video and in the comments, just write Cam is wrong.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I mean,
the people listening are not new hobbyists. They've been around, been with fish for a period of time. I'm saying that brand new hobbyists is setting up people for failure. It's setting up people to think that it's really fast, and it's setting up people to like skip all of the most important things of maturing an aquarium to set them up for success in the long run.
But that
I
is just
disagree. I
assuming
disagree.
that is just assuming that people when you say new hobbyists, that's assuming people starting off at a point of going like, if you pardon the expression, balls deep in the hobby and like, going all out. But 99% of people start super casual, just get a little tank and a couple guppies to sit on their counter, and then starting from there, and then
Disagree.
going
Nothing-
deeper and deeper.
Nothing is going to reinforce the unpopular opinion that fish keeping's hard. Is if they go into someone's house, they've got this tiny little fish tank and they're sticking dead prawns in it, and they've got the science experiment going and going, "Where's your fish?" Oh, I'm not allowed to add fish until the ammonia goes to this and the nitrate goes to this, and they go, "Oh fuck, that's hard. I'm not keeping fish." Fuck that.
When
Do you know what I mean?
when someone walks into your shop and they've never had fish before, what's the first thing you explain?
I know what you want me to say, but I don't like. You want me to say the cycle, but I don't think that is what
Is
I
that,
would
not,
first
is
explain.
that not the first thing that you discuss with someone trying to make their aquarium healthy and safe for new fish to go in?
No, I would. If someone like comes in straight from scratch, the first thing I explain to them is what you have to do to look after your aquarium.
Which is make
Long
it
term.
healthy and safe for them?
And adding
No, which
cycle
is like
media
water
starts that
changes and
process.
like, which is like doing water changes and why you need to do them and how you clean the glass and how you stop algae growing and like if you want plants, how do you make your plants look nice and like how do you keep your fish
Why
well
is
fed and
algae
everything
growing
like
and
that.
plants growing more important than the health of the fish and long-term success with that?
Because if it's such a mission to keep the tank looking nice, then no one's even gonna look deeper.
And that's why
get to
you
that
slowly
point.
get a tank mature via taking your time and not rushing things.
Yeah, but doing it empty, no one's gonna care and no one's gonna do it. They'll just go get a dog.
I'm pretty sure they won't.
Well, I can tell you for a fact, if I start explaining about the cycle, then people just are like, "Oh, okay, no worries," and walk off.
And their eyes
I
will
can
glaze over and they
guarantee
go,
that.
"I'm going to have to keep an empty fish tank for 6 weeks." Some people will, and some people enjoy that, but most people don't. They want to keep fish. So put a couple of fish
Exactly.
in, put some cycle media in, build up slowly, do some water changes, learn about a cycle gradually. You'll be fine. It's 100% the best way to do it. And I think we need to move on from this topic
Absolutely
because we're not going anywhere. We're going around in circles. But anyway,
Oh, honestly, I'm so fired up.
yeah,
I'm-
that's why we said we weren't going to do it.
Who knew that would touch a nerve with me?
It's like one
Oh.
person knew.
Yeah. Oh my god. I need to take a moment and do some deep breathing or something. Jesus.
I think you might need to go speak to a counsellor because you can't handle being wrong.
Oh, don't worry. I'm not the one who can't handle being wrong. Stupid bloody cycling procedures.
Maybe there's going to be a few weeks of missed podcasts here as a result of this one.
Yeah, man. We've got to do a whole episode about this bullshit.
Yeah. Also, I think
right.
oh no, we're moving on from it, are we?
Well, no, you can
Moving
say
on from
whatever you were going to say.
I was going to say that the one thing I've always not liked about the fishless cycle, yes, it's a good way to do it, but how do you know you've actually cycled
It's a
it
good
enough
way of doing
for
it.
the it is a good way of doing it. It's not the best way for a beginner or the best way to do it, but it is a good way to do it if you want to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a waste of time and energy, but if you want to do it and you want to enjoy it, do it. It's okay, because some people do enjoy the science behind it. They enjoy the dropping the things and being involved and spending lots of time and all that sort of stuff. That's okay if you enjoy that. But the biggest thing I find is that you're putting all these prawns and all this crazy dead stuff in your tank. How do you know you're actually adding enough to cycle it? And then do you put a full stock in it anyway, or do you build up slowly like you would for cycled media? So it's all just very confusing to me. It doesn't make any sense.
Because you test your water. You know that thing that you're opposed to? You check the water and see what's going on throughout the process.
Yeah, cool. So then you say your tank's cycled, but there's only a certain amount of bacteria in there for a certain amount of ammonia. So how do you know you've added enough ammonia and built enough bacteria for your tank, for your fish stocking?
Because you test it.
So how do you test that you've added, like, I've built up enough bacteria in this tank?
Because your ammonia goes to 2.0.
So you put your ammonia to 2.0. So then you can only add enough. You can only ever add enough fish to produce enough P to make the ammonia 2.0, because that's how much bacteria you've got.
2.0 is enough to produce enough. Is the amount of ammonia to produce all the way through for a cycle.
Yeah. So your tank's
but that's hold on.
Certain
Wait,
bioloading.
Stop it. So you guys are neither of you are understanding what the other person is saying. So Cam is saying enough to make the cycle work, and Ryan is saying, what if he wants to chuck 40 peacocks in the tank? How do you know there's enough bacteria to be able to deal with
you're not going to
much fish load?
You're not going to chuck 40 peacocks in a tank with cycled media, because as you both said, you've got to start out low, and you can't tell me that adding 40 peacocks to an aquarium is starting at a low stock.
No, but that's what. Oh, okay. That's where they're at. And
That was your argument to start with.
Ryan said, originally Ryan said, oh, you build it up slow. And then you said, you don't build it up slow. You just start off right. You don't need to worry about building it up slow because it's more safe. But then that's the thing that you guys are currently arguing about. So fight. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. I'll step out.
Anyway, I think the whole thing.
Wrong.
I think we need to move on. The whole thing's myth level crazy to me. But anyway, carry on.
All right.
Who's got the next unpopular opinion? That one was fun.
Whew, yeah. See, that's what I thought the whole episode was going to be like. So I'm glad it took us an hour to warm up to the final conclusion. So, because we probably got time for one more. So, do you guys have any you really want to talk about, or just go with whatever's on my list next?
Cam's banned, and I have nothing.
Which Cam?
Well,
you're banned, inbreed. You're banned. You're cut.
Well, if you do have any on your list, Cam, that you really want to talk about, we can, so long as they're not stupid.
There's nothing specifically on my list that I really want to talk about. I just have a significant list.
All right. Well, then you pick, because I'm a bit fired up to think clearly right now. I'm not going to lie.
How about I've got either not all aquariums need real plants, beef heart mixtures do not belong in the hobby, and hybrids and crossbred fish should all be culled. You can choose from one of those three.
And let's go with plants, because I think we've talked about the other two.
Okay. I don't think all aquariums need plants, although it's a very popular belief that all aquariums do need them. Totally disagree that they all need them. Aesthetically, I think they improve a lot of aquariums, but I don't necessarily think that they need them. And even we'll take away, say, African cichlids, for example, that don't really work very well with plants for the best part as a whole, or big American cichlids that like to rip, dig, and pull. But community tanks don't necessarily need to have plants in them to be thriving and healthy and aesthetically pleasing.
I definitely agree. For plenty of kids and families and stuff, just chuck a pirate ship in the middle, and Everyone's going to love it. The fish are going to have a nice hiding spot. The people are going to love their tank. What more could you want, basically? It's just sort of, it's one of those things where it's like, you can definitely, but like, it's your tank, you can do whatever you want. I think no one's arguing that plants don't help in terms of the overall ecosystem, but it's not essential by any means.
Not all plants also help to the extent I think people think they do. Like cryptocorynetes, for example, take very, very little nutrients from the water column, if at all. So people like get loading up with crypts, and it's going to make my water cleaner, for example, less chance of algae, blah blah blah. But they don't actually absorb quite as much as what I believe people think they do, compared to say like Ambulia, which sucks it back like nobody's business.
But in terms of, so that's assuming that the only sort of benefit to having them is the sucking up nitrates and phosphates and that. But I mean, there's plenty of other benefits in terms of like it's hiding places for the fish, helps break down stuff in the substrate. Like, I mean, it depends on each plant, but everything contributes something.
Food source,
for the most part,
algae filaments and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, even in terms of like the hiding spaces and stuff, like, you'll laugh, but like plastic plants can do the same thing if you're into that. You can make the same out of a, couple rocks or something. So like, there's many ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree with you. Like, plastic plants will do the same as far as hiding and site breaks as what real plants do. They're just stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it depends on the application. Like, sometimes you can't have real plants for whatever reason, and it's not a choice, but it'll still do the job, and that's the main thing. As long as you're enjoying it, that's the thing. There is also, because you can do the plants out the back of the tank, like the terrestrial plants out the back of the tank, if you're not able to have plants in the tank for whatever reason, maybe a fish that are eating it. So that's a thing to consider if you do want them, but you don't need them. And then aesthetically they're cool, so like there's an added bonus. But yeah,
I think I agree with you guys. I think that you don't need them, but if you can grow them, cool. Whatever. They're probably going to do more good than harm. But what I have seen a lot of problems with is people buy the wrong plants from certain stores, and sometimes it causes more harm than good because they're stressing about why their plants aren't growing, or why they're going rotten, or why they're getting covered in algae, and they're thinking that they're getting real stressed that their plants aren't growing because they're choosing the wrong plants to start with, rather than just getting some Java fern or something like that just grows easy as, or a Nubus or something like I grow, because it just grows like a weed. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Plant selection is a huge thing.
It is, and there's plenty of easy to grow plants. I've got them all through my tanks with no effort, and they probably produce more good than harm. There's fish are all hiding in them and nibbling on them and stuff. They grow pretty well in tanks with plants, so whatever.
We probably shouldn't talk about it today, but there is the immersed plant thing, which also causes trouble, where it's like the plants are grown out of water, and then the leaves will basically die, and then it looks like the whole plant's dying, but it's just the old leaves dying, and then it'll put new leaves. My opinion is that that's, I don't know how to, it's like dishonest. Because you can, even like selling them is one thing, whatever, but a lot of times it's not sort of specified, and you have to figure it out yourself as a hobbyist, which is not good.
And as a retailer,
the terrestrial plants, which is scammy as. I hate that.
You're selling someone a plant and saying put it in your fish tank, and then it dies, and then they either throw it out or they come back to you.
Die.
And then, but they think it's dead, and then they come back to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
It's actually because it needs to convert to submerged growth, and you're like, but hang on, it was underwater when I bought it, and you sold it to me by fish tank, and it's not ready to grow like that, and I've already thrown it out. That's not cool, Like,
exactly. Like, I think it's one thing. Like, that's definitely, if you tell people that, and you're like, oh yeah, this krib, all the leaves are going to fall off, but the roots are going to be so strong, and it'll come back in, a couple weeks. that's one thing. That's fine. If people have that information, do whatever you want with it. But then if you don't say, I think that causes trouble because people just don't know because it's obviously difficult.
And that's
think-
where sometimes I
weird.
think it can cause problems, cause problems with people.
I think the terrestrial plant issue is far more of an issue, a bigger issue.
100%.
But I think that the immersed plant is the far more common thing. But yeah, I think the terrestrial plants being
I
sold
agree.
as aquarium plants is far bigger of an issue because it is literally setting everybody up that buys them for failure.
That is the
There
most
no-
scammy thing in the world.
Generally, no exception to that.
Yeah,
Mm.
100%.
Yeah, you're sticking something that's not designed to be underwater, and then setting people up. It's just shitty.
Pretty much.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Or at least
Sweet.
tell people what they are before you sell them. But
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
the shops often
No.
don't know that, and they'll buy them from their wholesaler, and it's not listed like that from the wholesaler. It's just listed as a starburst or whatever it's listed as, and they get it, and it looks pretty, and they put it into their sales aquarium, and people take it home and grow it, and 3 weeks later it's dead.
They do Mondo as well, eh? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mondo's sold at wholesalers.
Yeah.
There's lots.
And
There's lots. and
Ours
lots and
does pretty well in the very wet area next to our house, but I don't think
Yeah.
I'll put it in the aquarium.
lots. I've got Mondo sitting outside the front door of the shop growing in rocks.
Yeah, it's
So-
Oh,
good.
nice.
Yeah.
You should pinch some.
Okay,
Oh, but yeah, I think that's our
I think
unpopular opinions.
we're done now, and that was a good one. We got a bit of a rise out of everyone, and wake us
I
up
think
on
that-
this early morning, even
I
though
feel
it
that
was a
that
banned
last-
subject.
I feel that the last topic was more like a cuddle after we've been pretty explosive with each other afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
a little
little
bit
bit more explosive than what Cam's about to do after the podcast because he's got
I was
he's
just
got
thinking about
He's
that.
got that distracted look on his face. He's got that distracted look on his face, and his eyes are glazing over a little bit. He's starting to, you can tell he's starting to clench a little bit. So it's
Hurry
probably
up,
time
hurry
to go.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening. If anyone actually listened this far, I hope you did because it got a little bit better as it got further through.
Oh, he's gone.
And-
He's back.
He's gone and he's back. Like and subscribe. The request for the merch has pretty much dropped off, so we need to see that pick up again to justify the effort that we're putting into it. So, cheers for listening.
See you,
See
everybody.
you later.
See ya.